working with Jennifer Lopez, completely different thing. I mean, so first of all, when I first met Jennifer, um, I was actually way upstate working at a place called Bearsville, and it was me, the producers, the track masters. We would all collaborate together. We would kind of like do a retreat up. Bearsville is like Woodstock,
Okay.
basically. That's where Woodstock is. And we were up there, and I was the first week I took 50 Cent up there to work with the track masters. So we were all up there, and Tommy Mottola gives me a call and says, "Hey, do you know who J-Lo is?" I said, "Damn right I know who J-Lo is. Who doesn't, you know?" And he says, "Well, she's coming to my office tomorrow, and I need you to be in that meeting, you know?" I'm like, "Okay," you know, because she wants to be an artist. You know, now I knew J-Lo, the dancer, and J-Lo, the actress. I didn't know she wanted to be an artist. So I'm like, I'm there just because I want to see what she looked like in person, to be honest with you. Like, you know. Um, so we went through hell getting there. 50 and I were in the car, and we were driving back. Actually, no, I left 50 there in Bearsville, and me and another guy named Sean, we jumped in the car, and I had this Range Rover, and for some reason, because we were up in there where there was hills, we went through these big puddles of water, and I guess the distributor caps got wet, and the car just shut down on this bridge. And so we were stranded. So now I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to make this meeting, blah, 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 blah. I had to get the car towed to the closest Range Rover dealer. And then by the time it got towed and we got to the dealer and they went to look at it, the guy turned the ignition and it started. I said, all right, forget it. I jumped in the car and I took off and I went to the meeting. So at this meeting, Tommy was in his office with Jennifer, but he had lined up the best of the best, he felt, as far as producers and writers. So it was Diane Warren there, Babyface was there, a guy named Rick Wake, and there was one other guy, and Emilio wasn't there, but Emilio Estefan was the one who initiated the meeting to begin with. And what Tommy was trying to do was give each one of us like a 5-minute one-on-one with Jennifer to assure her that if you sign here with Sony, you're in good hands. You're going to be working with the best of the best, right? I got there late, soaking wet. I had a leather bomber on that was so soaking wet that I could have wrung it out in water. You know, I threw it in the garbage when I got to Tommy's. I honestly, where's the trash? I threw it in the trash. It was trash, right? So I start playing the piano and talking to Diane Warren and everybody. I'm like, what's this about? What's going on here? So they're like, I don't know. Tommy's just pulling us in one at a time, blah, 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 blah. So then all of a sudden I'm playing and singing a song, and Jennifer and Tommy come out and say, oh my God. She says, that song is so beautiful. What is that? And Tommy says, what is that song? I said, it's a song I actually just wrote. I sat at the piano because I just wanted to play it through. She's like, oh my God, that's such a beautiful song. Tommy says, if you like it, you can record that song. You can record that song tonight.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, we can make it right, have it right now type of thing. And we did. We went in the studio that night and we recorded that song. Talk About Us, it's called, right? And, you know, from there, Tommy calls her the next day and says, how was your studio experience? She says, it was amazing. She said, and I do want to work with all of the other producers. She said, but I only want to work with them through Cory. I only want Cory to work with me in the studio. So they can send Cory things, but I only want to work with Cory because he made me feel confident and made me feel strong in the studio. And that was the beginning of shit. I mean, I forget how many. I think we did 10 albums or something like that.
Wow.
Almost
So
80 million records.
You had a hand in all of those albums?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I think there was one or two of them that I kind of pulled away from, but ended up going back and doing others with her.
Yeah.
But the Jennifer studio experiences all of those studio sessions were really, really cool. We had a great time in those sessions. We had different writers around, Troy Oliver, you know, different people writing in the studio with us and coming up with ideas. And it gave Jennifer the comfort to feel like she could write also. So she was writing with us. I bought her a notebook and I said, listen, I'm going to teach you how to write. I said, just write down any feelings that come to your mind, any experiences that come. Just write it down, and we're going to pull from this book. And that's what we're gonna write about.
Mm-hmm.
So most of her first 2 or 3 albums were about, especially the second album on, were real life experiences and real things that had to do with her life, actually. Like the song Dear Ben we knew it was going to be called Dear Ben, but the working title was something else until till we mastered the album and you look at the credit, I mean the track listing, and everyone was like, what's this Dear Ben song? We had to call the plant and say, look, the actual name of song number whatever is Dear Ben. She wanted it to be a surprise to Ben. And it was also a surprise to her husband, who she was married to on the first part of the making of that album. She was married to Chris Judd. By the time we finished the album, she wasn't married to Chris Judd, and she was with Ben.
Letter to somebody else.
Yeah, to Ben.
That's kind of crazy.
So that was wild. But, you know, Jennifer's sessions were cool. I mean, it got dark when she started dating Puff, you know, because it just wasn't a good time for her. You know, he was menacing. He was doing all these things with her, you know.
What time period is this, so I can have a better understanding
of it? I think this is, I'm going to tell you what album. This is from the Jenny from the Block, This Is Me Then time. Actually, no, it wasn't that album. It was towards the end of that. I think it's the third album. I'm trying to think of what was going on in that time.
So is this what, mid to late 90s? Yeah.
No, it was 2000s. Yeah, early 2000s, let's call it.
Okay.
Early 2000s. And she and Puff started dating. It was all over the news, all over everybody. But, you know, his vibe and the way they would go, it just wasn't our vibe. Everything was love in the studio with us. But when he would come over, he'd bring his security and everything. And it was like Darth Vader walked in the room and everyone was different. I wasn't different because me and him go back further than that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to get in your business, but that's y'all over there. But don't bring that to my session.
Yeah.
And he respected that, though. He was always respectful of that, you know. But I just felt bad that she was going through it all the time. And then finally she was able to break away from that and things went back to normal. But it was like things because there was friction, because 1 minute she was with him, she broke up with him, she was with Mark Anthony, then she broke up with him, and then back to Puff, and they were bumping heads.
Yeah.
It was crazy, you know.
Mark Anthony is somebody else who you're very close with.
Yeah, Mark Anthony is someone else. I worked on his two albums, his 2 English albums.
Yeah.
And we were all, this was like my day to day. My day was Mark Anthony, Jennifer Lopez, Jessica Simpson, you know, every day dealing with them. And, you know, but those sessions were controlled. We had the whole Sony building kind of like wired. So it was all systematic, and except for when Puff came in and just everything got crazy, you know.
Yeah.
But Jennifer's process was really just kind of, it was more factory-like, and I don't mean it in the sense that everything was processed. I'm saying we had a system, you know. These guys would be writing song ideas. I would go in, listen to it. Jenny from the Block almost didn't happen because Troy Oliver was sitting with a drum machine, and he had, you know, was making this track, you know, and when I walked in the studio, I said, like, yo, what's that? He said, it's some bullshit. He said, I'm going to erase it and start something else. I said, whoa, hold up. I said, just save it, give it to me. And he saved it, gave it to me. No, I said, burn a CD, as a matter of fact. It was CDs back then. Burn a CD, save it, give it to me. Now you can move on to something else. And I took it in the next room and had a guy named Andre Deo start writing lyrics to it. And they came up with Jenny from the Bronx. You know, and I'm like, well, Jenny from the Bronx is not it, but Jenny from the Block is right. And then we started tweaking and doing, and that's how it happened, you know? Yeah, that's how it happened. But Jennifer's process, because she was very professional, always. Jennifer, I'd say, aside from Michael Jackson, she was the most professional, you know, person. Like, she would also blow off studio time and piss me off too. But, you know, I once flew from California for her, and when I got here, flew from New York to California for her, and I got here and her office calls me, well, Jennifer didn't realize she had another engagement. She had to leave, but she said, please just wait for her till tomorrow. I'm like, because I used to fly out in the morning and I would get back on the plane that night and go home. That was a big deal for me. I wanted to go home and I was pissed, but I'm like, okay, Jennifer, I would always do, she had a way of like, well, come on, you said you would do this for me. She could talk me into a lot of stuff. And, I don't know. So I think those sessions were more mellow, more under control.
Yeah.
There was love for everybody. I remember when we finished the This Is Me Then album, she bought everybody expensive watches, like me, the engineers. She bought us all some really expensive watches as, to show appreciation. So it was dope. She bought me like $100,000 watch.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy.
What type? Do you remember?
Chopard.
Chopard.
All flooded out diamond Chopard,
Okay.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's really cool. What is your relationship like with her today?
With Jennifer today,
Yeah.
it's cool. I mean, so it got to the point where with Jennifer, she started to grow as not just as an artist, but Jennifer, she's in production.
Yeah.
So she started to want to do things on her own, and like I see this and I want to do this, and creatively I just didn't agree with that direction. So, excuse me. Creatively, I didn't agree with that direction. So, like, respectfully, I just said, you go do that,
Yeah.
and I wish you luck. If you need me to help you with anything in the middle of that, I will.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't want to do something and act like I'm on board with this direction, or if I think this is the right thing for your career, because I don't. I don't think that some of the records were good choices.
Yeah.
But she respected the fact that I was honest with her, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, we've come back and forth with each other, with things like that. But it's all love. You know?
For sure. So just like career path-wise, you kind of just grew apart.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even to this day, there's things that I see her do, and I go, I don't think I would have done that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise her to do that. That's not the direction I would take,
Uh-huh.
And I pride myself in knowing, I feel like I know the right direction an artist should take because I kind of see the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
An artist has a bad habit of just seeing what they see. They don't think about how that's going to affect or how it's going to kind of land on the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Like they don't look at it that way. They just like what they like at that moment.
Yeah.
There were times I would give Jennifer these compilations all the time when we were making an album. So it's like comp 1, we used to call her Lola in the studio. That was like the alias. So Lola comp 1, Lola comp 2, Lola comp 3. And those comps would keep on changing because it basically is like, listen to these 10 songs and tell me if you like any of them. She might like one. All right, I'll scrap the other 9, keep the one that she liked at the top and add 9 new ones.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go through those, and that's how we would select songs. But what I would not do is put a song on that comp that I already know is not a good song for her. I'm not going to let her hear that because she's going to probably like that one. And I know that it's not a really good record for her to do.
Yeah.
It might be a good record for someone else to do, but it's not always a record for her, Like, India Irie might sing a pretty beautiful song that Jennifer will like, but stylistically it's not for her.
Yeah.
But she's going to want that song. I want to do that song. So I won't even play that for her. I'm not even going to go through that shit, but I'm not going to play it. I'm only going to put songs on that comp that I know she can execute. I'm not saying it because her ability to execute something. I just know that she can execute it and it'd be believable and, for her market, for what she needs to do. So I wouldn't give her that. But other people that will work with her after me, they just open the floodgates.
Yeah.
And she picks a lot of those songs that she shouldn't be picking. So it is what it is.
And you feel like that impacted her music career?
I do.
Yep.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I don't care what nobody say. You might have one hit record, but for you to last and have longevity, it has to be real.
Yeah.
It has to be real. Otherwise, all the foolery. Lady Gaga, when she came out, she was wearing meat.
Meat, yeah, that was
all
crazy.
Kinds of crazy stuff. But there came a point where it's like, you better make some real records, some hits, and stop with all of the bullshit because that's not going to sustain. We can't do this forever.
Yeah.
And she started making real hits,
Mm-hmm.
And that's why she's now here forever. Lady Gaga can wait 10 years and come out with a record and still have a hit because it's real.
Yeah.
Do
you feel like that's why some of her earlier music was better because it was more real and authentic to what she had going on?
I think at that time, the first batch of records that came out was probably 10 years in the making. That was 10 years of her life. She probably written these songs and doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you spill all of that out into the world and it's a hit. But now the studio rushes you back in the studio. I mean, the labels rush you back in the studio.
Yeah.
Come up with another one, come up with another one. You need to let her go live and experience more shit.
Yeah.
You know, to come back with something else, because she was writing it from experience.
Mm-hmm.
You have to live a little bit to experience. I tell you, you can't just start putting pen to paper and start matching words and things like that. That's not, you have to experience something.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it has to take years, but go experience something.
Go live life.
You know, go live and experience. And I think that she puts out records that were either she collaborated with somebody or she just heard or just rushed.
Yeah.
And they're not as good.
Yeah.
You know?
And do you feel like some of that was pressure from the label? Saying like,
it's
we need
always
another
pressure
hit?
from the label.
Yeah.
John Mayer, who's also one of my favorite top artists of all time. Like he's amazing.
Yeah.
John Mayer. His first album, Room for Squares, I promise you, because that was like right before everybody had iPods. I probably bought his CD 20 plus times, because every time I had to get on a plane, I would just, instead of looking for the CD, because it was in my car, so I had one in this car, one in that car, one in another car. Oh, I'm getting ready to travel. Stop at the store. Let me buy a John Mayer CD. I kept buying this damn CD because the whole album was just amazing from the beginning to the end. The second album came out, and it was, I'm not going to call it trash, but it was trash. It was like, to me, I was like, damn, what happened? He wasn't trash.
Yeah.
His voice, his ability to play, everything was amazing, but the songs weren't there. Yeah. He had one record called Daughters that was on that album. Everything else was just And everyone, I remember sitting in the label like what happened? Mm-hmm. It's like what happened? And I said, hey, I'll tell you what happened. This was his college years. This was everything. Room for Squares, he wrote in college. He had released Room for Squares in college as an independent record first. And then recut the album and cleaned it up and then re-released it with Columbia. Yeah. That was 10 years of living. Now all of a sudden he goes back and he wins 5-6 Grammys or something like that. Then they rush him back in the studio. Yeah. He didn't live anything. Uh-huh. And he's still out there living right now. Then he took some time off, and then he came out with the Continuum album. Amazing. That album was and it was, what was so bad about it is I didn't even know he released an album. There was a Starbucks that was by my house, and I went to Starbucks and bought things, and I saw they were selling a John Mayer CD. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, give me this too. I put it in my car. I was in a trance. The record was so good. It was in a trance. And I'm like, no one even knew. And it was a slow burn, like everyone. But then it was became one of his classic albums. Wow. But you got to live. Yeah. You got to live.
That experience is important.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes a lot of the music I listen to, it's almost, you can feel it as a listener, as a fan, as somebody that's in the audience. Like, if it feels more manufactured than actual experience, it comes across that way in a lot of the situations. So,
you know how gospel music works? They sing and you get the Holy Spirit. It's supposed to happen like that because they're transferring their emotions. Uh-huh. If someone goes, oh, say, can you see? It's one thing. Everyone's sitting there, but if someone comes with emotionally, like, sing it from their heart, everyone's like, yes, America, America. It's different. Yeah, for sure. So it's a big difference. Yeah. So when the person sings and knows how to transfer that emotion, which some artists like Mariah Carey and Whitney, all of them would do so well, it's a big difference than when you have, I don't even know, I can't even think of an artist because they all suck to me, so I can't think of one right now, but some artists it's just a machine. It's just nothing, no emotion. It's just words and melodies, right? Mm-hmm. But no, there's a huge difference in that. I forgot, would you ask me something just now about that? I just got off.
About who?
You said something to make me say about the emotional part about it.
Oh, I was just asking about the, I was saying from a fan's perspective, you can feel when it's forced or made.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but that's a real thing. You feel it. Yeah. But it's also the lyrics. You said when you hear something, you can feel the difference. Yeah. That's what you said. Yeah. And sometimes someone might say a lyric that hits home.
Mm-hmm.
You say, oh shit, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes like, that's my song right there. You know what I mean? I live this song. When people are depressed, they put on music and they're like in their sorrow. Oh, I'm listening to da, 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 my mother done left me. Da, 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 da. It's the blues. It's, you know, it's real people's experiences. And again, I try to stay in that place. But there's a song that you probably won't know, but it's called "Killing Me Softly." Actually, you might know it because Lauryn Hill recorded it.
I'm not gonna sing it, but
Right.
killing me softly.
Right. Lauryn Hill recorded the song, but it was originally a Roberta Flack record. And Luther Vandross also recorded the song.
Okay.
So now when Luther Vandross recorded the song on this album called Songs, he covered all of these songs. So when he recorded the song, he still was saying, killing me softly with his this and with his that and he this and he that. So everyone at the record label went, oh shit, is this a moment where he's like coming out?
Yeah.
So everyone was afraid to like even address it. So finally, the president of the label, Dave Glue, said, you know what? I don't give a shit. I'm going to ask. So he reaches out to Luther's manager and he said, what's up? You know, like this song, he didn't change the word he to she, you know, because I guess they were thinking it's supposed to be killing me softly with her song, killing me softly with her words and her. So every Wednesday was a label meeting. So this particular Wednesday, we're right in the middle of our label meeting, and who walks in? Luther Vandross.
No
He just walks into the meeting. And he's like, hello, is this where all the resident geniuses have their meetings and stuff? And he's all dressed up. This was the slim Luther. You know, he had lost weight, so he's like got his Armani on and all this stuff. And he says, you know, I heard there was a little issue with the lyrics to a particular song. He said, so I came to explain to you guys because I thought you guys had all the answers, but I came to break this down for you. He said that song, Killing Me Softly, happens to be a song written by two men, and it's about two men that were standing in the audience watching another man on stage playing the guitar and singing. And the one guy looks at the other guy and said, that guy is killing me softly with his song. He's killing me with his words. It's like he took my private books and he's reading them out loud in front of the whole world. It was never about a woman.
Yeah.
The song was about, it was between the conversation between these two men and about a third man on the stage singing a song that happened to be his life.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh boy, they felt stupid. He said, so now that you guys have a full understanding, I'll have one more thing to say to you. He said, y'all better work my MFing record. And he left. And everybody just felt stupid, like, oh wow. He kind of just broke it all down for us. But that's my point. My point is, good songwriting has to make you feel like, damn, this guy's singing about my life. Yeah. Every word is my life.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to church and the pastor starts talking and he starts saying things, and you ever feel like, man, he must know what I'm going through because he's speaking to what I'm going through. Yeah. No, it's just life. Because people go through things, you know, so you have to tap into that all the time. When you disconnect from that, you lose people.
Yeah.
You know?
100%. So when you were bringing up J-Lo, you said that she went through some of her darker times with Puff, and he's a polarizing figure right now, especially been, you know, with everything that's been going on with this trial and stuff like that. Let's start with like who he was back then. What is your opinion on who he was at that time? Early 2000s, Bad Boy, all of that stuff going on.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've known Puff since he's about 19 years old. Seriously. Oh, wow. We go back way back because, well, not just from New York. He was a dancer at Howard University. You know, he went to Howard University, and he was a dancer for a go-go band called Rare Essence. And when I first met Puff, he was interning at Uptown Records. And while he was interning, he was always trying to like get something going on. And he asked us to produce some records for this go-go band. So we got to hang out, you know, together in DC and all that stuff. And then you come back to New York, he's the intern. I remember Puff used to keep a pencil in his ear and a pad in his back pocket and be going to get McDonald's for everybody. And it like, yo, I'm making a McDonald's run. What's up? What you want? What you want? What you want? You know, and then Andre Harrell one day decided to give him a shot as an A&R director, you know. And actually, to be fair, he didn't just decide to give him a shot. Andre lost his A&R guy. His A&R quit, Kurt Woodley, and Puff saw an opening, and Puff took Andre to lunch and said, I think you should let me be the A&R guy. He said, why? Because I'm 19 years old, because I know what's hot. I know all the hot clubs. I know all the hot producers. I know everything, and you guys don't. You know, so Andre gave him the shot. So he went to lunch as the intern and came back as the A&R guy, which meant he was the one controlling our budgets and our fate as producers. So now we got to sit in the studio with this guy who we thought was completely musically ignorant, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough because we'd be in the studio playing things and he'd listen and go, what's that sound? I don't like that sound. Take it out. And we want to say, get out of here.
Yeah.
You know, but we can't because he's the one that's got to make sure this is done and we get that check.
Uh-huh.
We're like, oh boy, we dealt with it. But it was a learning experience, and I learned some things from him, because I learned from him that I'm not making the record for me, I'm making the record for the consumer. And his ears represented the consumer because he was musically ignorant. He does not know proper chord changes and things like that. He just knows what he wants to hear.
Yeah.
And I had to learn quickly to respect that. And because I did that, I had hit records like Real Love and Changes. I've been going through all these records because he would adamantly be like, I don't like this. To the point we've had fights. We've had physical fights about records.
Really?
Yeah, physical fights, because it's like his mouth is crazy and I just don't like crazy people like that. And we just would get into it, right? Not punching each other in the face, but slamming and wrestling and going, choking. It's crazy. It got crazy. But, you know, over time, I learned to respect him and his ears and his ability to know what he wants and maneuver in the studio. And I think a lot of producers benefited from that at that time. But he's also crazy. You know, also, he's been crazy. So all this stuff, you fast forward, like, he's crazy. And so I saw something recently. Now everybody, with all the things that's going on with Puff, right?
Yep.
I always thought that, you know, Trump, who's his friend, was gonna go to Trump and ask for a pardon.
Yeah.
So I was right. He did. You know, so everyone's leaning, hey, Trump, are you gonna pardon your boy Puff? And at one point, when Trump was running, Puff like switched lanes and all of a sudden was so anti-Trump. And I personally think
was
that
this during the first campaign or the second?
Second campaign. And I don't know what happened. I don't know why why Puff switched lanes like that, because he's his friend. I've always known Puff to be friends with Donald Trump, right? And, you know, and by the way, I know a lot of black guys that's close friends with Trump before he was president. It's like all of a sudden he became president and everybody wanted to not own that, the fact that Magic Johnson, Oprah Winfrey, and everybody else was friends with this guy.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is. And politics is real, just so you know. People play politics every single day. And this particular time, Puff was talking to Charlemagne, and I mean, it was almost like Charlemagne asked him a question and he thought about it, and then he switched and he just went in a different direction. I was shocked when I saw that.
This Breakfast Club, Charlemagne?
Yeah.
Okay.
Breakfast Club, Charlemagne. And he went in a different direction and he really started dumping on Trump. So I said then, did they have a fight? Like, what happened? But all of a sudden, he was anti, you know, we can't let this kind of person run our country, and this is real, and the white man this, and the white man. I'm like, wow. So for me, I felt like at that time, I think Puff was feeling the pressure of the black community. And I think that Puff himself was trying to, I don't know, get something else out of it, or I don't know. This is just my assumption. Whatever it was, he went in the wrong direction in terms of like where he was versus what he did. So now you fast forward to Trump. So they asked Trump, are you going to pardon your friend Diddy? And he said, you know, I don't know. We were friends at one point, but then he said some really crazy things about me, bad things. He said, it kind of makes it hard. I have to think about that. You know, and Pump, I keep saying Pump, Trump, Puff, whatever. But Trump is usually a guy who instantly he'll give you an answer. But this is the first time I saw him say, I don't know. I got to think about that.
Yeah.
And they said, so that's a no? He said, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't say that was a no. He said, I have to think about it. Should he pardon him? I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of curious myself. I mean, if somebody, I tell you one thing, if I was Donald Trump, I would have to say, I need to talk to this guy. Because I would need to ask him, yo, bro, what happened?
Yeah.
Why'd you say that about me? Why'd you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And if he tells me, listen, the cameras were rolling and I had this, and I was trying to get this money from these investors, and so I had to say this because of that. Okay, I need to hear why you did that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll help me make my decision. But listen, Puff, I don't think they're gonna put him away for no real time. And he's gonna come back and I don't think he's gonna be the same guy. Now that it's no secret, everybody knows that he's been on drugs and things like that. I think the drugs really took control over him. He's always been crazy, but he's also been using drugs for a long time.
Yeah.
When I first met him, he barely drank, but then the other drugs that he ended up on, I watched him change over time.
Mm-hmm.
I watched him completely change. And I would tell everybody around me, I even ran into him once in the city with me, my son, and everybody, and he invited us to come hang somewhere. He was going to do Complex, whatever, TV with sneakers and stuff. And my son and his friends was like, yo, can we go? Can we go? I'm like, nah, let's not go. We're going to chill out. Because I knew he was different than the Puff that I knew.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy that, his life ended up where it's at now. But as far as him and Trump and this whole pardon thing, I don't think Trump is going to do it, to be honest with you, because I think that Trump needs to stand firm on being the man that he says, look, I'm this guy. And if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if you go against me, I'm going to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a bad choice for Puff.
Yeah.
I don't think Puff ever saw himself in this situation where he would need Trump the way he needs him right now.
Yeah.
Very
interesting. Very interesting. Now, you can answer this or you cannot answer this. In terms of Puff and the things we've heard about him, I don't know how much of it is true, but have you ever been to a Diddy party? And if so, could you tell people what those are like?
So I'm going to tell you something. No, I've never been to a Diddy party, especially those crazy ones like that. I've just been around him in the studio. Okay. And that's what people are always amazed. They know that when the studio session was over, Puff went his way. I can't follow him, because Puff's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm talking about crazy. Like I've seen him do crazy stuff. First of all, I'm not a party person, but I could never party the way they party. Like they party heavy. I could never do that. I would never be that type of guy. So no, the answer is I've never been there, but I've heard the aftermath. I've heard people come back and say, yo, this was crazy stuff.
Like what type of stuff, if you can say?
Yeah, I mean, everything from the amount of drugs that they experienced.
What's up with the baby oil? That's a little weird.
Yeah, you know what, honestly, I don't know what's up with the baby. The baby oil is, I don't know. I mean, that's just extra freak craziness. I don't know. I'm not a baby oil guy, so I don't know about all of that. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had to ask.
Yeah, I don't know. But you know what? These guys consider themselves eccentric.
Yeah.
That's part of the vibe, I guess. I don't know. Because there was a lot of lies going on, too. Just like
I'm sure.
They were saying that the baby oil was laced with a drug. And then it was all a lie. It's not true.
No.
So they turned it into something like that. I don't know. Maybe everybody got to look. Bodybuilders, when they work out, they shine themselves up. Because if they don't shine themselves up, they don't look as, interesting.
Yeah, they weren't lifting no weights, though.
Yeah, they weren't lifting no weights, but they was definitely greased up.
They was greased up.
And why Puff wants to see that, I don't know. I just can't tell you why,
No, for sure.
He's crazy, though.
Yeah, he is.
I'm going to tell you another interesting about Puff. Another interesting thing about Puff. It seems like Puff always wanted your girl. Like, he don't bring a girl, like, unless it was a girl he took from somebody else. But he's really attracted to other people's girls, and I think that's like a power trip.
I was about to say that has to be more.
That's got a power trip. Like, I want your chick. Yeah. All of the women Kim Porter was Albie Shore's girl at one point. Mm-hmm. He's got a son for Al, and who's a good friend of mine. Yeah. But
one of 50 Cent's baby mothers, if I'm not
incorrect. Yeah, 50 Cent. Even Justin's mother, Misa, she was with someone else, and then Puff. he's attracted to somebody else's girl all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I remember he told 112, the group 112, we were in the studio, and he's like, yo, y'all don't bring no girls around. He said, but bring something that I could look at. And they were like, something you could look at. He's like, yo, you can't just have women around and it's not something that I'm interested in. You know, I need something to look at. I said, oh, this dude is crazy. You know,
Yeah.
and I never took him serious because I know Puff from back then. So everything is laughable to me, but not to other people.
Nah,
You know, it's crazy.
A lot of that stuff is super serious.
Yeah.
But no, that is incredible. All of the stories are insane. I'm sure there's so much more. I would love to switch to the business aspect. So
Yeah.
after producing, how far up with Sony did you go, and like what different role in terms of like managing talent, or what else? What other roles have you done?
So, you know, at one point, you know, when I first started at Sony, I was there as a producer, like a staff producer, and we had a little label deal going on, Mark Morales and myself. And back then, we didn't think Sony knew how to market urban records.
Yep.
So I wanted to get out of Sony. And our agreement, the deal was up. It was time for renewal, rather. And so I told my attorney, look, go in and ask for something ridiculous. That way they just go, you're out of your mind. Fuck them, let them go. So it worked, but it kind of didn't work because they were like, okay, no, I'm not giving you that. But Tommy said, I would like to meet with Cory. So I'm like, oh my God, he wants to try and separate me from everybody and try and see if he could talk me into doing a better deal. So I take this meeting with him. And in the meeting, he basically was like, look, I don't really need the label situation. He said, but I need to keep you in this building. And I said, well, explain. What are you talking about? He says, well, you know, I feel like you have a talent that I've never seen before. He said, not only do you know how to write hit records and produce hit records, he said, but you have this bilingual way of conducting yourself that is priceless to me. And I'll do anything to keep you here. So now I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him, and in my mind I'm going, did somebody tell him that I spoke different languages or some shit? And I'm about to blow an opportunity because I don't speak any other language but English. So just as I was about to say that to him, he kept talking and he said, I mean, seriously, he said, you can run our label meeting and speak and well to everybody here and, you know, articulate and things like. He said, then you can go out into the street and relate to all of the dudes in the hood and speak their language. He said, you can understand it all. He said, I don't have anyone here like that. He said, it's priceless. I don't want to let you leave this building. So he offered me a job as a vice president at the company. And at the time, my wife had just had my daughter. So now I'm thinking about stability versus working check to check as a producer. I'm like, look, I just bought a house. So I'm like, okay, I got to stabilize. So maybe this is something I need to take back to, you know, my partner. But I was worried because I'm like, if I do that, then what's Mark going to do, my partner? Yeah. But so I went back to Tommy the next day and I said, look, I can't do the deal because I can't leave Mark, and Motown wants to do a deal with both of us. He said, well, do the deal with Motown. That way Mark can have something, but you work over here also. So I gave it a shot, and then that turned into just a different career as far as me being an executive. Yeah. And at that point, it wasn't just about me making records anymore. I was actually bringing in other executives that I thought were good for the company. You know, guys like, for instance, the Trackmasters were about to do a big deal with L.A. Reid, and I put the brakes on that and said, no, come talk to us at Sony. And out of that came like all sorts of success with their Trackmasters label, and you know, because Sony didn't have rap down pat. So I brought these guys in there who were like killing it in the rap game as producers. So now all of a sudden we were big in the rap thing. That was the birth of Steve Stout. Steve Stout was part of the Trackmasters. He was working with them, and we gave him an office, and we recognized Steve Stout as somebody who was like, we described him as a bull in the china shop in some ways. But he was also a guy who had the balls to go out and make deals and make things happen. So that was kind of my role. So now not only am I identifying artists, now I'm identifying people who I think should be the key executives here to make Sony strong. Yeah. You know, And it turned into some of the top executives like Dave Glue, who was the president of Epic Records.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Glue, once a month, we would go up to the private Sony club, and basically he said, "Okay, tell me what's going on," because I was his eyes, his ears, as far as the climate and what was going on at Sony.
Yeah.
And in return, he would say, "I want to teach you how this business really works outside of the creative music side." My first day of sitting in his office, he said, "If you give me an hour, come after you finish, no matter when you finish, come to my office and give me an hour, and I'm going to teach you something." And it sounded, again, it was all happening fast. I'm like, who are these strange white guys asking me things like, come to my office for an hour? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, but I would go because he was cool. I would go. And the first day I went there, he had a yellow legal pad, and he put a T, a big giant, like a capital T, a giant T. And he says, "What's that?" And Dave Glue had like this, he was an ex-military guy, so he had this military attitude. He's like, "What's that?" I said, "I don't know. It's a big T." He laughed. He said, "Okay." He put a P and an L. "Now, what's that?" And I thought about it. I'm like, "Profits, losses." "Correct." He says, "So congratulations. You just learned the only fucking thing that matters in this office." "I don't care how the song sounds," he says.
Yeah.
"I don't care who sings, how they sing. This is all that counts here." He says, "So now I'm going to give you a homework assignment." He gave me the roster. And not only was it the full roster, the list of the full roster, it showed who was in the red, who was in the black. And it also gave me a blurb on what the commitment was.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, Michael Jackson was way in the red. Like, but the commitment to Michael Jackson is this, he's got another album and blah, blah, blah. And then there's a group like This and That. They signed them, they were in the red. We were committed to do another album. We would have spent another $500,000, but the first album was a complete flop. He says, "What do you do in a situation like that?" He said, "So let's start with Michael Jackson." He said, "I'm going to give you one example. Is he profits or losses?" I said, "Well, right now he's in the losses column. So let's put him in." He says, "Correct." We put Michael Jackson in the losses column, right? He says, "Now, what do you do? Do you drop him from the label and cut your losses? Or do you figure out a way to turn that loss into a profit?" He said, "I need you to think about that and work on this through the weekend." He said, so I went through the weekend and I gave him this whole breakdown. And when I came back to his office, he looked at it over. He didn't really spend a lot of time. And he called someone in the office, and there was like a few artists on the side of losses, but I'm like, "I think you should just cut your losses." He pushed the button and he called and said, "Told Business Affairs that I want these artists dropped from the label right now." And my heart sunk. Like, oh, what did I just do?
Mm-hmm.
He says, "So now, lesson number 2 is stand by your decisions and don't go back on them." He said, "That was your decision. We executed. Move on." I said, "Okay, cool. I got it." And he would tell me things like that. If someone asks you if a record is a hit and you think it's not a hit, don't lie. Because if that record is not a hit and we waste a bunch of company money, then you deserve to be fired just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So those are the things I got from Dave Glue,
Wow.
and I learned a lot. People tell me, "Did you go to college?" No, I went to Sony Music University. That's
Yeah.
what it was. It was a
Yeah.
college for me.
Which is probably the best type of learning. It's
Yeah.
hands-on.
So I ended up senior vice president of Sony Corp, working directly with Tommy. I didn't answer to no one but Tommy. I didn't have to go to label meetings if I didn't want. He only would send me to the different label meetings that was going on so that I can help, But I wasn't required of me to go to label meetings. I didn't realize how good I had it until I got pissed off and left, And I left after Tommy got fired. Everything was just different, and it took me about a year and a half to get out of there, but
Yeah.
I got out of there. But what I had, no one will ever have at another label. The freedom and the flexibility that Tommy gave me, you'll never get that anywhere.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Even though people won't get that, I know that's like a dream scenario and what people would aspire to have.
Mm-hmm.
After you left Sony, what was your next move? What did you transition into?
Oh my God! After I left Sony, honestly, it's 10 years of just lefts and rights, some of them bad moves, things like that, because I never wanted to work inside of a label again, because just as I left Sony, everything shifted to be independence. People were independent labels, independent contractors. No one was locked into these big deals anymore. And I just felt like, hey, I built all of these brands. I built billion-dollar brands, Jessica Simpson, Jennifer Lopez, all these things, big billion-dollar brands I built for Sony.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to build those brands on my own. But I learned another lesson. As much as I knew about entertainment and entertainment law and the music business as a whole, I absolutely knew nothing about corporate law. And I got involved with some investors at the time, and supposedly investors. And, I made a commitment. There was one paragraph that basically was like acknowledging me as the president of this company, and that I acknowledge that I'm receiving this money for so. I signed it thinking, yeah, I'm the president. I have to accept this money, But what that turned into in court was a personal guarantee, that I was, and that stuck in court. And they sued me, and I had never been sued before. And the guy involved, they was like, I'm telling you, this is going to be, if we ignore this, it's going to be bad. And at the time, there was a recession going on, and the recession was real. And it made it hard for you to like pull from different things. And there was one point where, they seized everything, like they froze all my assets because this thing got real, because that paper just stuck. The judge was like, there's nothing to talk about. Poof. Holy shit. So now they were like, look, if you don't come up with this money by this time, we're going to come here in 48 hours and padlock everything and seize everything in here. I don't care if it's your kids' laptops or whatever. We're taking everything, we're going to auction it off and get our money, right? So now I'm like, oh shit, I have to hire an attorney. The attorney says, oh, we can fix this, but you got to retain us at 50 grand. 50 grand? I said, I can show you on paper. I have it, but I don't have it because I can't access it.
Yeah.
Can't get it. So what do you have to do? You start borrowing from like hard money loan situations. Now I spent 10 years trying to fight that and chase that and get back on track, which completely distracts you from your music,
That's
from your
tough.
creativity, from everything. And I learned a crash course, like a hardcore lesson in corporate law, and knowing that you need to read things and understand things and align yourself properly with the right people.
Yeah.
And over the years I've met friends that really understand it much better than I do and give me a whole different a perspective on how it works.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important for people to know moving forward. Like, don't just jump into something thinking you're getting into some investment or something like that.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, leave it alone, or find someone you can trust, and good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
Who can you trust? Good luck.
Yeah, so relationships are important, but more than that, knowing what you're getting into,
Yeah.
having the knowledge and taking the time to inform
and
yourself.
I can be honest with you. It was a roller coaster. It was drama, and I finally crawled out of the hole. But it was a lot, and a lot of people like to get on social media and act like life is great.
Yeah.
Cut. It's not great.
Yeah.
They're all
It's a
full of
highlight
shit.
reel.
Yeah, it's all crap.
Yep.
But what they really need to learn, and hopefully they'll see this, what we're talking about right in this conversation, like, no, people go through some real stuff. I'm gonna tell you right now, I personally can tell you that Puff went broke 3 different times before he ended up on his feet and being worth what he's worth now.
Wow.
3, like completely broke.
Yeah.
3 different times, And there's a lot of people, millionaires, billionaires, and everybody that'll tell you up, down, up, down. It's not about when you go down, it's knowing how to get back up. I know people that can say, I don't give a shit, I could rebuild this tomorrow and do it.
Yeah.
They know how to do it.
It's a different type of confidence.
Yeah, they know how to do it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a different knowledge. It's a completely different knowledge. Everyone's bound to make a mistake, But how you get through that mistake, or how you deal with that, like you look into the storm, you walk through it, not crumble,
Yeah. And you can't be fearful of those moments. You can't hesitate.
You can't do that.
Understanding it's a part of the process.
And for the sake of my family and for my life and my career and my legacy, I had to just walk through it,
Yep.
So It's crazy. But you live in an industry where if the industry people think that you're going through something,
Yeah.
they'll stray away from you. They'll be like, oh, he wants to borrow some money or something. I ain't messing with him. Or they'll try and take advantage of you because they think that you're desperate.
Uh-huh.
So you really have to keep your head up and act like, no, I'm still good. You know, I'm cool. I'm
Yeah.
good. You know, a lot of people, more than less, go through it and go up and down, broke, not broke. A lot of people, you'll be surprised how many people wake up and go, what do you mean I'm broke? Yeah, you're broke.
Yeah.
You know, you got to rebuild it somehow,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Unless you scratched a lottery ticket and don't know how, you know, it was a stroke of luck. If you really know what you're doing, you'll get it back.
can do it again.
Just stay there.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so you go through the 10 years of trials and tribulations and learning about corporate law and all the ins and outs of the business side of things and
Right.
understanding the fine print. What are you doing today, and how has that information helped you?
Well, you know what? Today I finally found like this niche, you know, area of the business that I think is untapped
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, very profitable, right? So what I've done is I've created a legacy label along with my partner, Jody Chow, who happens to be a lawyer and a music licensing expert. So unlike the last time, I've now surrounded myself with people that understand all of the different things and legally can be the back office and protect us from certain things.
Yep.
But the legacy label, I chose that lane because, you know, so I've signed Smokey Robinson and El DeBarge of the group DeBarge, right? Mm-hmm. And so far, you know, out of two, and we're talking to Chaka Khan. The reason I chose this direction, this path, is because these are artists that are already household names, like Smokey Robinson, Chaka Khan, all the El DeBarge. They're household names. They have everything that a label would hope their new artist becomes. You know, that you want your artist to become a household name. It makes them brand ready. You know, so right now, Smokey Robinson, you know, household name. What we've done is we'll put out new music into the marketplace to reinvigorate his brand.
Yep.
Because it's kind of been lying dormant for 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So now all of a sudden you see Smokey with a new single on the different TV platforms, buzzing. The algorithm is way up. It stimulates his catalog when that happens because people go, oh, yeah, Smokey. You know, let me play my Smokey stuff.
Yeah.
It also becomes like an inspiration for people to like use that music in a commercial or a TV show or a movie moment, things like that. So now the catalog is running like up and running again.
Yeah.
It's been revived, and then on top of that, you know, we want to bring in brand partners to come in and try and do things like you have Paul Newman dressing, like the salad dressing, or you have, you know, Smokey is into yoga big time. So like what we're trying to work on now is a line of yoga products. He's also an avid golfer. So polo shirts, not to say Smokey Robinson, you know, whatever we feel is a realistic brand opportunity, that's what we're looking for. So it's not just making music and throwing it out now. Now it's kind of covering all of the areas that you would hope, like every Beyonce and Rihanna, and all, they all have clothing lines.
Yeah.
They all have brands.
Yeah.
And not every artist, the smaller artists want to get to that point, but they're not there. It'll probably take 10 years. Beyonce didn't just start doing this, or Rihanna. It took 10 years or more to get to that point. And that's iffy. If you get to that point, you know, you can do that. But these people are already there. So they come out of the box ready to go. And they're also so seasoned. So when you're in the studio working with them, you're working with a professional.
Yeah.
It's super easy. There's no attitude. It's just honestly a dream job, to be honest with you.
Now, when you're making music with people who were, I don't want to say more relevant, but their prime or they were more hot earlier in their careers, and times were different, how is your approach to making music with them now? Like to make it more relevant, to kind of spark up? Do you keep that same aesthetic, that same vibe as the older music, or do you kind of relate it more to what's going on?
Well, the good news about the older music was they were all real songs, right? So, and real songs are real songs. That's why country music never changes, because it's just good songs.
Yeah.
So with Smokey, with El, We just want to do real songs that
Nothing
people can
trend,
relate to.
trending
A
or
love song is
gimmicky.
a love song.
Yep.
You know, like a lot of people make songs today, you know, like real true artists, like a Maroon 5 will sing a song, and it's no different than a song that Elle couldn't do, you know, because it's not so panned to where it's like got all these trick drums on it and weird sounds and a rapper on it and all this crazy stuff. You stay away from all of that and you just give them a good song.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about.
Yeah.
Like everyone wants a good song.
That's
you
an
know?
awesome idea, awesome motto, and I wish you nothing but success moving forward. I think a lot of artists can really benefit from that and kind of reinvigorate their careers and open up those new pathways so they can
Yeah.
establish a brand outside of just being a musical artist. So,
Yeah.
so as we were walking through the office earlier, I couldn't help but notice a poster on the wall. It was you in a barbershop, and it looked very reminiscent to reminiscent to the podcast of the shop that I saw today. And I just wanted to know what that was about. It said MTV on it. It looked like an older version, almost identical to what they're going on.
It is identical.
What they have going on now.
It's not even the logo is identical. But
Yeah.
here's the deal. So that was a show that I had on MTV years ago, and I don't know. Fast forward, I turn on my computer, and all of a sudden I see LeBron James and Steve Stout with the same exact show, same concept, same logo, same name, same everything. So I said to myself, how could these guys have balls like this? Like, excuse me. So I said, how can they, just be that's crazy? Like it's they didn't change anything. And after digging around, I mean, I have a theory, and the theory is that Viacom, what happens with Viacom is, or MTV, I should say, when you have a show on MTV, they automatically own the show. So most shows you see on MTV, if they sign, like they're going to move forward with your show on Greenlight, then they own the show, can do anything they want with it. But in my situation, we only signed up for a pilot season. And in the agreement, it said that unless they pick it up to move forward, it all reverts back to me, right? They never picked it up, because at the time there was all kinds of drama. So we only did the one, it reverted back to me. But then while all of that was going on, I feel like Viacom sold to some other people. And then I think, here comes LeBron James and his company looking for IPs, to purchase. And I think they saw that sitting there, remembered it, and said, hey, what's up with this? And I guess Viacom thought that they had the right to give it to them or sell it to them because they thought they owned it.
Yeah.
Not realizing that I'm the one guy that ended up owning his show.
Yeah.
It came back to me. I have the legal paperwork that reverts it back to me. So all of a sudden it just popped out. So now, I reached out legally. Tommy Mottola, who was involved in the show with me, we reached out like almost immediately. No response, no nothing. And at the time, the show first aired on ESPN, so we reached out to ESPN. It just went nowhere. Then all of a sudden it went away for a minute, and then it popped back up on like HBO or something like that. And so now we're dealing with it. So, there's like this thing where they say, well, the statute of limitations has run out, but I don't care about that because, well, first of all, actually there's another part of the law that says that if we reached out within this window, then it kind of stops time. And we did. So right now we're actively pursuing that.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I don't care what that says. If LeBron James wants to publicly be known as a straight crook, then whatever. There's more than one way to bring this situation to justice, so I'll get it.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like jacking him or anything like that. Just for those that are watching and might think I'm kidnapping LeBron James. No, that's not going to happen. But I will. It's too obvious.
Yeah.
This is not
it
even
looked identical to me, and I had no idea.
It's the same show,
background.
same concept, same everything. It's the same show.
Yeah.
So there's no getting around it. It's just the paperwork. And my paperwork shows that show, MTV does not own it. It reverted back to me. I also have the paperwork that shows that I reached out and sent a legal registered mail letter as well as an email, from a very powerful, reputable attorney, putting them on notice. it was ignored, but I can show that email and
happened.
that thing happened.
Yeah.
And so it's now, so I've retained the right attorney, and we're going to pursue it. We'll come
Okay.
up with a game plan. And I hope that he takes the route to do it publicly so I can have some fun
Yeah.
and create some content. I'll be that asshole at the Lakers game just sitting there. LeBron was like, get him out of here. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I hope that situation plays out to your favor because,
yeah.
especially if that's your concept, you deserve some sort of repercussions for that because that's they stole your whole model. Like it's
In the beginning, when I first saw it, I wasn't even tripping that much. I was just like, okay, well, I'm glad that, we could push it forward. Give me my credit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And add me as an executive producer, and let's push forward. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But the fact that they ignored it, and then I reached out to Steve Stout, who actually was a guy I helped put in place and put him in business.
Yeah.
And he took the approach, like, oh, I thought, we was all, he took a nasty negative approach.
Oh,
and he's not even built like that, which really surprised me. Because he may have a lot of money and all of this stuff going on. He walks around with security, but somebody will smack fire out him when they get a chance. And that could happen.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For the record. But his approach and his attitude about it really threw me off. Because I was reaching out to him like, yo, Steve, what's up? Let's work this out. He wasn't trying to talk about it. And he now has a product line. Because Steve is also into branding and things like that. He has a product line with the logo, with the he's got hair care and all this stuff. So now I want all of that.
Yeah.
I want all of that. Now it's not give me an executive producer. It's all mine now. Now I want it all. And that's the approach I'm going to take now.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah,
rightfully so.
It's crazy.
Okay. Well, I like to end each segment with or each episode with a segment of this or that. I love to ask you some questions just to kind of get your take on it. All right, first one. As a performer, as an artist, do you prefer bigger venues or smaller venues, like festivals or more of an intimate House of Blues type of?
You mean if I was the artist performing?
Yeah.
I would have to say bigger.
Bigger.
Because the bigger the audience is, the more you could just get lost. The smaller the audience, you can actually see individual people and make eye contact with them. And it makes you like, because this one guy, like, just looking at you, and you're like, damn, what's up, bro? You don't like me?
Yeah.
But when it's a sea and you can't see nothing, you just hear the music and you can do what you got to do.
Yeah, I've said that to people a lot of times. Like public speaking, I can speak to a lot of people at once, but if you get me in like a classroom with like 15 people and
that's
you, it's
different.
like, it's a little bit weird.
I recently had to speak at UC Irvine. My partner Jody, she teaches a class there, and she had me come and like do teach a class with her one day, and that was really tough, Yeah. And I can talk, but I mean, just when you got students just sitting there like this,
Yeah.
you want to kick their chair like, pay attention, wake up. So no, I would rather a bigger audience.
Okay. Old school music or new school music?
Old school music.
Old school.
Yeah.
I mean,
If I can answer that, old school music with the exception of a few things, but if it's just a hard one way or another, old school music.
Sounds good. Ali or Tyson? Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson?
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah. Because Muhammad Ali, because they had two different types of fighters.
For sure.
Right? They were both heavyweights, right? But Ali wasn't really a knockout artist. Ali had the ability to figure out how to win. Like, it was always adversity for most of his fights. He was dealing with adversity. A big guy that wants to kill him, and he had to figure out, how am I going to get this big ugly bear and end up with this win? So he would figure out how to win every time. Mike Tyson had a strategy where he was trained like a machine. He would run through every opponent. And he's just as much of a favorite, but if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick Ali. And I think Mike Tyson would pick Ali also. Yeah. He was just a strategist. Ali was different.
Yeah.
I
heard that you like to hunt. So do you prefer big game or birds?
Birds are like a video game. That's easy. Yeah. Even though I do have an incredible bird hunting story. Yeah. And it was the most amazing thing that I've ever seen hunting. We were hunting for birds, and there was one bird that got shot, but he kind of like, he didn't die, he landed, but what he did was he went not in this little pond under the ice, under like some rocks, right? It was a duck. We went duck hunting. in the ice and my friend's dog Bella was hunting with us, and for some I've never seen a dog do this. Bella tracked the bird. Bella went in the water, under the ice, dug under the thing, and came out with the daggone bird. I'm like,
way.
how did that happen? Like,
Yeah.
I never knew that a dog could be that smart. And I'm talking about he didn't track it. She didn't track it from, she didn't track it from like she was right there and it fell in front of her. She was way across. She was 100 yards away and came running and knew exactly where the bird went. She could just sense it and smell it.
That's insane.
And I stood there and watched that, like, in complete disbelief. And like I'm like the rest of the hunt was like boring after that.
Yeah,
I'm
that
like,
was definitely...
do it again, Bella, do it again. But but I like big game because of the challenge. There's a challenge that comes with being in the element of this big animal, but being unseen, undetected, and try and outsmart that animal to walk into you. And I know it sounds cruel to some people, but it's also the way people had to survive back in the day.
Yeah.
And when I'm sitting in that element, I want to know that I know how to survive.
Yeah. More primal.
Yeah. So that's why I like that.
What's the biggest animal you've hunted?
An elk.
Elk.
A big, giant elk.
Yeah,
and I shot him from 450 yards away. He was hillside.
Yeah.
And the guy tells me we're driving. I was with a guide and he stopped. He said, "You think you can take him from here?" And I'm like, "Who? What?" And he said, "Get on the hood." I put my gun and looked through the scope, and I looked, and he said, "You see him?" And I saw him. And I took the shot, and he just came rolling down the side of the hill. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you prefer a crowded studio or like a more intimate studio session? Like a lot of people
intimate, for sure.
Yeah.
But the people in the studio with me have to be into what I'm doing. I'm not saying I force them to like my shit. No, they have to genuinely be into it.
Yeah.
If you came here to fall asleep, go out there. If you came here to talk through the session, go out there.
Yeah.
But if you came here to instinctively react to what I'm doing, then I want you there. Because the more you react, the more I keep going. The more I know I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
So, and that won't work with someone who's just full of crap and just lying like, "Oh, that's cool." No. But there's a way you can always tell that whether it's real or not.
Yeah.
Because certain things are just, you're not prompting them to move their leg or do this, or there's a certain focus that you get from a person when you got them. So I like to see that in the studio.
Yeah. Michael Jackson or Prince?
Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Even though, again, equally, I think Prince they're just two different animals. I like Michael Jackson's more so because Michael Jackson had his song structure was different. It was more melodic. It was more songs. And Prince had songs also, but Prince was also, like he had a kind of lot of little quirky things he would do. I guess Michael did too, but I don't know. Plus Michael, I grew up with Michael. Like, not with him, but
I know what you mean.
I grew up with his music,
Yeah.
So I would choose Michael.
Yeah. When I walked through your office, I saw a lot of like comic book characters and stuff like that. So Marvel or DC?
DC,
Really?
only for Superman.
Yeah.
It's really Marvel, but Superman is Superman. There's
Yeah.
nobody. Superman is the number one guy.
Yeah.
So
I wish they could do a better job of like revamping the DC like live action
I
movies.
I think James Gunn is going to do that.
You think so?
I don't know if you saw the new Superman.
I haven't seen the new Superman.
Go
yet.
see it.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's pretty good.
Finally they got it right.
Yeah.
Because they were screwing up Superman, and my kids be laughing at me like, "Really, you really like Superman?"
Yeah.
I was pissed off. I'm like, "Why do they have him as a dark character?"
Yeah.
But no. I think they got it right, and they gave the whole thing to James Gunn now. So he did Guardians of the Galaxy and all that.
He did.
So I think he's gonna get it right now.
Okay, good. Because they got a lot of good characters that they could do a lot with. It's just that I don't know who's been running it. Snyder did the whole couple of them, but
the mistake they made is they tried to chase Marvel.
Yeah.
And Marvel characters is usually dark.
Yeah.
And like mutant and different.
Yeah, it's different.
That's not what DC was about.
Yeah.
So they have to separate and be their own brand.
Yep.
So.
Well, that is it. I just want to say thank you. This experience was something I'll remember for a long time. We talked about a lot of different things. And thank you for your time, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for doing this with me.
Absolutely.
It's cool. I mean, when people give us a platform to speak and tell our stories, it's more valuable than ever
Mm-hmm.
these days. So now, anytime there's a chance to do it, I love to jump to that. So
Awesome.
thank you. Thank you
Awesome.
for helping
No,
me
thank
do that.
you.